back at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. NFC playoff coming up shortly between the 49ers and the Washington Redskins. We will have it all for you, but as we said, important world events taking place. Let's go back to New York and Dan Rather.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. A short time ago, the Congress of the United States gave the president the authorization he wanted to launch a military offensive against Iraq should President Bush decide that is necessary. This is a major victory for the president, and he's now appearing in the White House briefing room. We go live now to the briefing room.
I'll be glad to take a few questions. First, let me just say that I am gratified by the vote in the Congress supporting the United Nations Security Council resolution. This action by the Congress unmistakably demonstrates the United States commitment to the international demand for a complete and unconditional withdrawal of Iraq from Kuwait. This clear expression of the Congress represents the last best chance for peace. As a democracy, we've debated this issue openly and in good faith. And as president, I have held extensive consultation with the Congress. We've now closed ranks behind a clear signal of our determination and our resolve to implement the United Nations resolutions. Those who may have mistaken our democratic process as a sign of weakness now see the strength of democracy. And this sends the clearest message to Iraq that it cannot scorn the January 15th deadline. Throughout our history, we've been resolute in our support of justice, freedom, and human dignity. The current situation in the Persian Gulf demands no less of us and of the international community. We did not plan for war, nor do we seek war. But if conflict is thrust upon us, we are ready and we are determined. We've worked long and hard, as have others, including the Arab League, the United Nations, the European community, to achieve a peaceful solution. Unfortunately, Iraq has thus far turned a deaf ear to the voices of peace and reason. Let there be no mistake. Peace is everyone's goal. Peace is in everyone's prayers. But it is for Iraq to decide. Laurie?
Mr. President, does this mean now that war is inevitable? Have you made the decision in your own mind?
No, it does not mean that war is inevitable. And I have felt that a statement of this nature from both houses of the United States Congress was, at this late date, the best shot for peace. And so let us hope that that message will get through to Saddam Hussein.
Have you made the decision in your own mind?
I have not, because I still hope that there will be a peaceful solution.
Mr. President, there's only 3 days left till the deadline, which isn't enough time for Saddam Hussein to pull out his troops. In fact, you yourself wouldn't let Jim Baker go to Baghdad on this date because there wouldn't be enough time. Do you see the possibility of anything happening in these last few days that could hurt war, or any chance that he will pull his troops out?
Well, in terms of the chance, I'd have to say I don't know. And in terms of what could avert war, you might say a instant commencement of a large-scale removal of troops with no condition, no concession, and just heading out could well be the best and only way to avert war, even though it would be, at this date, I would say almost impossible to comply fully with the United Nations resolutions.
Sir, a follow-up. Have you heard from the UN Secretary General Perez de Cuellar today, and is there any hope on that front?
No, I don't know whether there's hope on it because I haven't heard from him today.
Mr. President, are you satisfied that countries in the international coalition like France, Syria, and Egypt will take part in offensive operations in the event of hostilities in the Gulf?
Yes.
The second part of that question, sir, you've said that if hostilities come, it will not be another Vietnam. What kind of assumptions are you making about the duration of a conflict, and can you assure the American people that hostilities would not expand beyond the current theater of operations?
Well, I'm not making any assumptions in terms of numbers of days, but I have said over and over again that the differences between what is happening in the Gulf and what happened in Vietnam are enormous in terms of the coalition aligned against the Iraqis, in terms of the demographics, in terms of the United Nations action, and I am convinced in terms of the force that is arrayed against Iraq. So I just don't think there is a parallel. But I would like to say that I have gone over all of this with our Secretary of Defense and with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and all three of us and everybody else involved in this are determined to keep casualties to an absolute minimum. And that's one of the reasons that I authorized Secretary Cheney to move the additional force several weeks ago.
What about the fire breaks?
So, President Bush now has a congressional blank check in effect to launch an attack against Iraq if he decides that's necessary. We'll have a complete wrap-up to today's Gulf crisis developments during halftime of the 49ers-Redskins game. Dan Rather, CBS News, New York. Now we go back to Candlestick Park and Dick Stockton. Dick?
And welcome to Candlestick Park in San Francisco for the NFC Divisional Playoff battle between the Washington Redskins and the San Francisco 49ers. This is Dick Stockton along with Merlin Olsen. They have delayed the kickoff a few moments so that you could hear the CBS News special report and President Bush's remarks and questions and answers. And now it's time for football. And Chip Lohmiller will kick off for the Redskins. The 49ers have won the toss. They'll receive next to Carter on the left and Spencer Tillman.